Hey friends, welcome to the end of week 1 of our Pantry and Freezer Challenge. There is just something about this challenge that invigorates me and makes me excited, and somehow it motivates and brings to the forefront of my mind other projects that I want to do, things that involve creativity and some hard work. One of the things that I did this week finally was to plant some blueberry bushes that a friend had given me months ago, and we have just barely been keeping them alive in their dormant state in the very spots where I wanted to plant them. But somehow this week there was motivation enough to go ahead and get them in the ground, as well as getting started on cleaning out the greenhouse and getting ready to start seeds in a few weeks. I am going to take you through what I made this week. I'm sure there are some things that I forgot to take pictures of. If I think of them as I'm editing this, I will mention them in the audio. But I think I'm also going to start filming a short video each week on how I'm deciding what I'm making each week, choosing what things I'm going to pull out of the freezer and pull out of the pantry. I won't necessarily go into what I'm going to make with those things. I may not even know what I'm going to make with them until I get a little further into my menu planning for the week. I've been out of town with my twins and my mom for their 13th birthday. We had a fun little girls getaway. I came home with just a few hours to dinner, and that's when I threw in our last meal into the Instant Pot for this first week of the challenge. All right, let's jump in and see how we did this week. If you're anything like me, by the end of week 1, you're feeling a bit like a rock star. It wasn't too hard, you're not sacrificing anything yet, and it didn't take a whole lot of creativity to plan all of your meals for the first week. On day 1, I pulled out this chicken that I had frozen and already cubed up and actually labeled sweet and sour chicken, as well as some frozen vegetables, and I'm going to make sweet and sour chicken and fried rice. I rinsed my rice pretty well, and then I just use the old trick where you fill the water to about 1 fingertip deep, and then I use the rice setting on my Instant Pot. My family loves fried rice. It was delicious. I needed pineapple juice for the sweet and sour sauce, but all I had was this tropical fruit salad, this giant can from Sam's. So I put it in a container and used the juice that I would have needed from pineapple juice. I just used the tropical fruit salad juice, and it was delicious. My kids went crazy over this homemade sauce, and the chicken and rice turned out perfect. We had leftovers. It was a great start to the first day. One of my favorite things about this challenge is how mindful it makes me with regards to the food in my home and how we are cooking it, eating it, and making sure that none of it goes to waste. So on this particular day, I peeled about 9 really ripe bananas and stuck them in a gallon bag into the fridge. I didn't have time to make banana muffins that day, but I knew I would the next day. On the second day, I seasoned some backstrap, which, if you're not familiar, backstrap is like the fillet cut of a deer. So we had quite a few in the freezer. I took them out, seasoned them really well with this caramelized onion butter seasoning from Sam's, and then I cooked them in a big pot with our sous vide. I pulled these random freezer burned veggies out of the freezer. There were 2 different types of frozen green beans as well as some chopped turnip greens. I have no idea where the turnip greens came from. I certainly didn't buy them, but I turned them into basically a green bean casserole that had some greens mixed in. And I also made some pineapple casserole, pulling the pineapple out of that tropical fruit salad that I showed you earlier, as well as about 1.5 cups of frozen pineapple that was still in our freezer. Not surprisingly, the green bean mixed greens casserole was not a huge hit, but the pineapple casserole always is. And the sous vide backstrap was delicious, and we had some left over. Our Sam's Club hasn't had romaine lettuce for a couple of months at least. I finally found it right after Christmas, so I picked up this 5 or 6 pack of romaine hearts, knowing that I would end up making like a big entree salad for dinner one night, and I also wanted to make BLTs. So I made a big batch of pretzel rolls, and we had BLTs for lunch one day, and it was delicious. I also made some whole wheat bread that day. One of my goals for the pantry challenge is to make sure I am using up our whole wheat when I am wanting to make bread products, whether it's tortillas, biscuits, bread, or even pasta. The next day, I did finally get around to making banana muffins. I was able to make about 3.5 dozen. We also tried out these silicone muffin liners for the first time. Man, are those handy. I am so excited to never have to buy paper liners again. My twins turned 13 last week and they requested breakfast pizza for dinner. This is a recipe that I made up years ago that's a huge hit with my family. All I do is use my regular pizza crust recipe and I make sausage gravy for the base, and then I usually top it with scrambled eggs and some mozzarella cheese. This time, however, our chickens are molting and not laying much since it's winter, so I only had about 4 eggs to scramble up, and I ended up just mixing the rest of the eggs into the gravy and then topping all of that with cheese. It made 3 big pizzas, and we ended up with more than a whole pizza left over, which was wonderful the next day. Here are my beautiful new teenagers. For the next 40 days or so, I have 6 teenagers. My oldest turns 20 in February. My second oldest is 18, but I just think it's hilarious that I have 6 teenagers for the next month and a half. One morning I made breakfast burritos with these little packages of guacamole that have been in the fridge for a couple of months now, but they're not past the date yet, along with a scrambled egg for each burrito. And these are like tiny little low-carb whole wheat tortillas. They were delicious. Next, I decided to make Big Mac salad. This is a family favorite in my house. I use canned venison that I have already browned and pressure canned, and I season up just like a cheeseburger with salt, pepper, garlic, onion, and Worcestershire sauce. The dressing is super simple. It's just mayonnaise, a little ketchup and mustard, and then you use pickle juice to thin it out to your desired consistency. I add chopped tomatoes, pickles, and shredded cheese, and it's a wonderful and pretty quick dinner. The last dinner is what I made when I got back from out of town, and that was chicken and wild rice soup. I had carrots and celery already chopped in the freezer. I also pulled out 2 frozen chicken breasts and this bag of wild rice blend that has been in my pantry for at least a year now. Usually when I am getting low on this, I purchase like 4 or 5 bags, and that typically lasts us an entire year. We just don't use it that often, so I probably won't buy any more. I ended up only using 2 of these quarts of chicken broth because I didn't want it to be too runny, and usually I make a bit of a white sauce to pour in almost like a gravy when the soup is finished to make it nice and thick and creamy. I also used an entire loaf of whole wheat bread that I made a couple days ago, but is probably slightly stale for sandwich bread, and I made homemade garlic bread to serve with the soup. I hope you guys are doing excellent in the pantry challenge. We've made it through week 1, and I'm really excited to plan for week 2. I'll probably come out with that video Sunday or early Monday. Thanks for watching.